you'll like this, it's going to save you hours. To the left of the question sheet in Espresso Rec is the Espresso Rec Vlookup sheet. And what this does, it does the world's fastest VLOOKUP. It'll do 65,000 lines of data, again looking up against a VLOOKUP table that's got 65,000 lines in, and give you the answer back in about 3.5 seconds. Let's have a look at some data. Imagine you were a medical, national medical thing, and you had lots of patient codes and some things about the region the patient came from, the major medical issue, area code and stuff, and the kind of projected income for next 12 months that they'll provide to the medical community from their illness. So income generating facility. And the whole point about it, this is, imagine this is many thousands, and many thousands of lines long, almost up to 1 million perhaps, that still fits on the Excel spreadsheet. And then what happens, another list turns up, and this is the list of people who have got back problems, who are having, say, Theraflex treatment. What's going to happen with that is usually people get their back better, so their income that's going to be generated for the medical community is going to be dropping quite a lot. So what they need to do is readjust their forecast by this. So they need to find out how much money they're going to lose from this list of codes that they have. So classically what you'll do is a basic VLOOKUP. Look up what? The patient code. The VLOOKUP, it's always against the left column. And if you press F4 at that stage of the game and count across 1 as the first one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then put your comma 0 or comma false, like comma 0, and copy down. And this will give you the kind of a initial idea of how much money they're going to be out by their forecast because of the new treatment that people are having. Now, had this number, say here, changed to 3,500, instantly this will change because we have a live VLOOKUP formula. Espresso Rec isn't for this sort of stuff. It's for when this list is so long down here and this list is so long down here that to do that recalculation you've just seen starts to take serious amounts of time. And actually to put the whole thing together, it could be half an hour, can crash Excel. It's the type of thing lots and lots of companies use at month end. And you'll see lots of people sitting around very late at night looking very frustrated, and the quote unquote they're doing the VLOOKUP. So Espresso Rec will help like this. Essentially this VLOOKUP table, the thing about counting across 5, essentially it's a pair, it's just 2 columns we're interested in. This patient code column, and in this case the income code, or projected income. So Espresso Rec allows you to copy both of them. Let's do Control J. Copy that. So Control E into the. On this side is that 2-column lookup table. That's essentially what a lookup table is. It's only ever really the index you're after and the value of that amount that you're after. And so let's take that in. So, and again, this will be millions, not millions, but thousands and hundreds of thousands of lines long for it to be worth it to do this. The date that you're after. All you do is you click that button there, Espresso Rec High Speed VLOOKUP. And because this is designed for very large amounts of data, for convenience for you, instead of you just highlighting and copying this data down, because it's thousands of lines long with gaps in perhaps and stuff, you just click here to copy it into the clipboard and plonk the numbers here. Now the difference between this one and this one is this one's a dynamic formula at the moment and this one's copy paste values. But again, how it normally works is people, after they do these very long VLOOKUP runs, they highlight this bunch of these answers and they copy paste formulas anyway. So you lose the dynamism of these formulas because it just takes too long to do. Okay, so then we look back at this thing and see what else EspressoRec can help us do. Because it is EspressoRec, if you do Control J, you have here these numbers that might be text in the other one. In fact, I think 654 here is probably about the same as the 654 there. If I do Control T, I take everything to text and then toggles back to text and numbers. So we could do either. Let's take everything to text is usually a nice idea. Similar here, I do Control J to go to the bottom of everything, and take it to text. It gets rid of the leading zeros, and take it back to text again. Click the button again, and finds an extra item. So EspressoRec, with a bit of EspressoRec ability, can actually get you a better answer as well. So plug this into there like this. Nope, we did that wrong. Copy the whole lot. Oh yeah, always be careful. What else is on here? This one here, clear right columns, will clear the answer for you. That will clear the left columns. And this button here, data cleanse, what that's there for is clear these columns. Sometimes you have data that has some code in it. It has like several spaces in there. And a data cleanse will maybe they have more spaces in this one than the other one. What a data cleanse will, it does things like get rid of excess spaces, cleans it up, tidies it up, and even for data that's not untidy, there's a program called Hyperion, and there's an add-in for Hyperion to Excel called SmartView. When you pull data from the Hyperion database into Excel via SmartView, when you have a space in the word or the code you're bringing down, it's a printing character rather than a space. And so when you do a Vlookup against something that you've just typed in an Excel against Hyperion code that's been pulled down from the database, despite it looking perfectly the same as the human eye, the Vlookup will generate a hash a lot of the times, especially when there's a space in there. The data cleanser has got a facility there to clean that out. So for Hyperion SmartView, that gets you the right answer. Now sometimes, of course, you're not lucky enough to have one column that's your unique code. But again, EspressoRec will help you have to sort of generate a unique code across several fields. And again, EspressoRec can do that for you. So for instance, if some of these codes were repeated, you might generate the unique code from, say, 3 columns. And to do that, you highlight 3, highlight a 4th one right at the end in an empty space, and do Control-Shift-M. And then you can then copy-paste that down, copy, and then you do Shift, go across, do Control-J, we'll bring it down to the bottom of the data set, and you can copy-paste values in there, and that'll be your unique set, which you then copy-paste into your lookup table. So again, even if it's a concatenated amount of fields, essentially you're really only after one column you're looking up against. Even if it's 2 or 3, basically you're trying to join them all together into one column to do the relooking up against it. And similarly with the answers, imagine you were quite happy with 1 or 2 codes as your VLOOKUP, but you weren't just interested in the expected income. What you can do is quite simply on this, and you can do a VLOOKUP on this by clicking the button, and then when you're finished with that, after a few seconds, you just copy this second column down into there and do another VLOOKUP on that and get your answer here. Highlight the columns that you want as your answer. Highlight the space over there. Control-Shift-N. Control-J. So that would be your answer. So That's the lookup index. That can be your multiple column ones answer all squashed into two. Then we can go over here and take our new raw data. And then here we will get do some data cleansing again. Not with the data cleanse button this time, but with the Control T to put everything to text and get rid of leading zeros. Control J, T, get rid of the leading zeros and put everything as text. And then we get the third answer. Copy that answer there, put it, say, for instance, here for the time being. And then what we can do, quite simply, do a basic delineation, because it's the Control Shift M. So if you are after several columns in one go in your VLOOKUP, then you can do it that way around. And let me show you how quick this really is. Control E. Go down to line 65,000. Put a little marker there. Do a quick autofill. Autofill there. And the answer I wanted, the data I'm trying to look up against is this one. So essentially we did this is, don't need that, gets deleted. This is a VLOOKUP table with 65,000 lines in, and this is the data set with 65,000 lines in, and that would normally crash Excel, take ages and ages and ages. Okay, on your marks, get set, go. 101, 102, 103. 3 seconds there or thereabouts to fill in. Do a 65,000 times 65,000 VLOOKUP. To do a million, a full 2007 or 10 spreadsheet, or even over a million, I timed it earlier today at about 45 seconds. Do this. Continue, but I don't want to watch the video for 45 seconds, I'm sure. So there's a clears that clears that, and that's the fastest VLOOKUP on the planet. Say an espresso rec. Go home early. Okay, we have 7 more amazing tricks for you from Espresso Rec to help you get through your day a lot quicker. We can look at Control Shift I. Control Shift I is an autofilter. Excel has its own autofilter, so it's a little bit of a convenience, but it's well worth having. If you do Control Shift I, then the cursor changes from the standard to an arrow. Once it's there, you just look at an item, double click it, and it'll put an autofilter on for you, and away it goes. It'll give you your answer. Oh, I want the W in there, so I want the Q in there, so let's double click Q, and it'll put the filter on for me. And I don't want that R over there, so if I right click the R, it's a negative filter for me. And when I do the dates, if I double click on the 10th of April, it'll give me all the months, all the dates for April 2011, rather than just the 10th of April 2011. If you double click the top, it removes it, but the autofilter is still live, so the next double click, it'll re-put the filter on, or even a right click, it'll put the filter on to start doing a negative filter. So it's a toggle button, as it were, so it's Control Shift I, switches it all off again. It's very, very convenient, because when you have very large amounts of data, and this is Espresso Rec is very good for large amounts of data in many ways. If we have let's put a double click on there. If you're going down a very, very, very large list, and then you say, it's the one with 4 E's I want, having found that, you then have to go all the way to the top of the thing again, and there may be a very, very large list of these things. And in fact, I think it's 5,000 that list goes down to. 5,000, 8,000. and it won't show you anymore, even in the filter, even if you can see the thing here. But having seen it here, you just go, okay, what the 4Es I want, double click, and we'll put the filter on for you on there. So that's what's useful. So Control-Shift-I to switch off again. Next one down is Control-Shift-K. Control-Shift-K is about converting tabular data into list data, which is very, very useful. Imagine your boss gave you a report and said, this data here, with some dates across the top and some amounts, labels down the left, and maybe the spaces in between them. That report is giving you a different answer to this other report from another department. That's got spaces down the rows as well. And it's your job to, I mean, there could be thousands of columns along and many hundreds or hundreds of thousands indeed of rows down. So Espresso Rec is here to help with this sort of stuff, nice and easy. What we do is we can highlight the range, making sure that you highlight both the left and the top bit, so you get the headers and the labels. And now if I go across on that, I'll do Control-Shift-L to make sure I get all the data in. And that's an Espresso Rec trick, that one, of course, from earlier. If I now do Control-Shift-K, it converts that rectangle into a nice list. If I now do Control-E, Espresso Rec comes up. And this is in a perfect form to copy into Espresso Rec. And in a similar manner, I can copy the other tabular data convert that into a list as well. Here we go. If I do Control-J, it gets me down to the bottom of those things there. And again, if I do Control-Shift-L, it will go across all the way to the other side. Now do Control-Shift-K to kick it into a list where the mnemonic came from. Highlight all that, copy that, and then paste that into Espresso Rec. Now what I can do is I can click the reconcile button, and Espresso Rec will show me where the differences are. And because when we did that list, it actually gave me as the fourth column the address of those things, I can say, aha, on the unreconciled, these are the items that reconciled. On the items that didn't reconcile, there's a number in AD9 that has for EE the value 5, and in R50 the value E, again for March, is 16.19. That's where the difference is. And that could be many, many thousands of rows, many, many thousands of columns, and Espresso Rec will sort it out for you in a few seconds. Control-Shift-M. Do Control-Shift-M, put down some of those files, is, imagine we had different fields, and maybe you want to do a lookup or something on that, and it's several of these fields together which you've worked out, kind of generates a unique key. The classic way to do that is to do equals this, plus that, and go across a few. But Espresso Rec will help you do that. Highlight the ones you want to look at, then highlight one space all on the same row that you want to concatenate into, and then do Control-Shift-M. And Espresso Rec will put them all together for you, and then it'll put a little delineator of the bang sign, exclamation mark in the middle, and then that's just nice and easy for you to copy down. Control-C. And the best way to do that is, of course, going across, Control-J. Make sure you get to the bottom of the necessary range. And there we have your concatenated thing added up. Why this is a lot better than doing it the other way around is because imagine you had something here that said John Smith, and this one said John's, and then Myth. Espresso Rec will have those as two different items. Whereas if I just had them concatenated together without a thing in the middle, what would happen was, of course, that they'd look exactly the same. And it's a slightly contrived example in this particular case, but where you have like spaces, maybe that's a space here, it'll see the two spaces together and it'll be connecting things in the wrong way. If that's what you want, that's fine, but generally speaking, it's far better to have a delineator in between them. And then when you finish working on it, of course, you can copy paste it somewhere else, and then do a basic delineator of that bits and pieces, and use the bang sign to kind of re-separate them out again. Using a bit of Excel functionality there. Okay, that's the Control-Shift-M, and again that can be done across hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of columns. So if you were doing some very highly structured CSV file that was going into one of these like Hyperion or SAP, 20 or 30 columns perhaps, instead of spending an afternoon doing equals plus equals plus equals plus and making human mistakes, you just highlight what you see and Control-Shift-M and it'll do it all for you. And Control-Shift-N. Now what happens with Control-Shift-N is, go here, if you put an autofill on, 2 seconds, using Control-Shift-I, this list here that Excel gives you in an autofill for Jane, John, Johns and Peter is a very useful list, but it doesn't give you any facility to kind of drag and drop and copy this list out. But Espresso Rec does for you. So Control-Shift-N will give you the John, because the filter's on already. Because everything's John in there. Control-Shift-N give you the greens, the Joneses, and the Mitts and the Smiths. But what Espresso Rec will do that's even better than this is it'll give you this across more than one column. So Control highlight. It'll give you not just Jane Green and John, which will only turn up once in the one list unique lister, but across columns there's a John Smith and a John Jones, and Espresso Rec will sort that out for you. Those don't have to be adjacent to each other. You can pick up one there and say one here with a control click, and it'll do it across 2 columns. And in fact, it will do it across several columns, and they don't need to be next to each other. And this will generate this unique cross multi-column unique list for you across several thousand columns and several thousand rows. A lot quicker than Excel's advanced auto filter will, and certainly, and also the pivot tables, it'll be quicker than that to do it. And again, the pivot table, you'll have to do the concatenation, which if you want to, and you have several columns, Espresso Rec will assist you in this as well. Control-Shift-R, where you have different sheets and you have similar type ranges on them, like date, name, that kind of thing, but across maybe a January tab, a February tab, it's far better, instead of inserting a name that says date and name, to do a localized range name. And the Espresso Rec allows you to do that very quickly. You highlight the range you want, one cell or several, and then do Control-Shift-R. A message box comes up, and you type in a name that you want to do a range name called that, and it's a localized range name. And localized range names are very powerful and useful, and they are a bit of a nuisance to insert when there's spaces in the name of the tab, because you have to get all the brackets right and the apostrophes right. But Espresso Rec will sort that all out for you. Control-Shift-U is a toggle button again, so U goes on and off, but it returns you to the old Lotus 123 settings, plus I'll show it to you. It'll put numbers across the top instead of letters. So when you have a formula, instead of the formula being equals A1, it'll be those RC type numbers. and this can be useful now and again, but especially when we have particular ones doesn't have very many columns in, because it's an old version. This one with 16,000 columns. This is very useful when you're kind of having to move across 30, 40, 300 columns, and you have to know the difference between what's column AO and what's column sort of XEZ. By using Control-Shift-U, you get to see, well, that's column 16,380, and if I'm already on column 31, then you just take those two numbers away from each other to find out what the difference is. You do very large VLOOKUPs. Be useful. It's useful for people doing VBA development work as well. So that's the other one. As it also has Lotus 123 settings on, again, there's a bit of a navigator in there again, which is very helpful. Let me explain that to you. If you have an item like this, and you have a go down in a row, one more there. If you have a formula like that, if you copy it, it would be nice if you press the Shift key and start moving the cursor with your up and down arrows and across. It would be nice to be able to go across to do end down, go across a couple, and then do end up, and then arrive at this point here. But Excel, in its normal settings, will land you back. You've gone down here, you've gone across here, you want to go up here, but actually when you do that with the Shift key held up, it will return you to this point here. But the Lotus 123 Control-Shift-U allows you to do that. So you can go Control-C, end down while you're holding the Shift key, go across 2 while holding the Shift key, end up, and you'll arrive at the bottom of that data set. And then you hold the Shift key, go across 2 places, and you can paste your formula down. So it's a little bit similar to the Control-J's we were looking at earlier, because I have essentially the same idea. You do Control-C, just to remind you. You go across, Control-J, and that'll work it out for you. But sometimes when you're in the middle of doing a formula, Control-J won't work. So for instance, if I wanted to do equals sum, and I wanted to do, a bad example because I have numbers on, sum from here to here, all the way down, Control-J at this stage won't work, but because I have the Lotus 123 things on, I can hop outside, end down, Shift end up, and return the sum. Because it's 0 because it's in letters. But the Lotus 123 is also a bit of a navigation assistant as well. And so you can see if you're on Lotus 123 mode or not, you have the numbers across the top as well. That's a bit of a visual for you. So let's switch it back off to normal Excel. That's the thingy. And then we go to the final one, which is numbers to text toggle. What happens in this is you get lots of items down from things like business objects, and it'll be text, it won't be numbers. Espresso Rec, by pressing Control T, will switch them from numbers to and back again in one go. Plus, it'll do entire ranges in one go as well, which can save a lot of time for you. And you use that for all sorts of things when you do VLOOKUPs and you're looking up a number that's actually really text, and vice versa. Then Control T will highlight the range into Control T. And that is the last of the new tricks for Espresso Rec. As well as allowing you to hop around the spreadsheet with great ease, if it's Control G's, Control J's, and Control L's, Espresso Rec is very good at helping you hop around workbooks as well. Control M, or double clicking on this particular item, will open up the list of all the workbooks that you've been in since you've installed Espresso Rec. and this list will go on for thousands and thousands and thousands. By double-clicking anything in column A, it'll open that file up for you. And double-clicking in column D will change the folder. At the moment it should be F colon, which it is, and this one, if I double-click here, do Control O, will be C colon. And you can hop around the folders. This is quite trivial in this particular instance, but when you have very large deep networks with G colon backslash accounts backslash payables backslash, go on for several levels of folders, being able to hop around them quickly using this facility is very, very useful as well. Control W is mnemically for were. What happens is you go into a file, Control M again, and the question is, I went file 9. If I do Control W, it brings up for me at the top the name of the file and its full path, and in the middle bit I can do Control C and then go to an email and paste into the email, or paste into a, what's this, Control K, Control V, paste into a link with the full file name, so somebody can go and double click it and access the file very quickly. And when with very large file names and folder names and path names, especially now with SharePoint as well, this works with SharePoint, it saves a lot of time. The other one I'm not able to show you here is the Control Shift D, and what that does is that establishes for you the folder of the current file. So for instance, where we're here at the moment in F colon backslash, that's where the file is. Where I am is in the folders is C colon. Normally then, to find out the other files next to the one in the F colon, I'll have to find my way around the network tree again. But by pressing Control Shift D, it's exactly the same as double clicking here without this being open at all. And now we're back into the F drive as well. I can't demonstrate this here because the Camtasia also uses I'm using here to record this, also has Control Shift D as a shortcut key. So it's not working now for this. And that's how to hop around the files with EspressoRec. The navigation keys of EspressoRec, which are very powerful and very useful, especially given the very large spreadsheets that are now available with 1 million rows and 16,000 columns, and there's incredible time savers, are these 6 here. 2 row navigations, 2 column navigations, and 2 area navigations. And that's small g, and so Control G, and then big G, Control Shift G, G, Control J, Control Shift J, Control L, it's an L not an I, Control L, and Control Shift L. So let's have a look and see what these do. Okay. Give these out for a couple of seconds and to work for you. Okay, so imagine you had some data here that said Jan, and let's make it easier. And then March, say. And this might easily go on till all the way over here to December. There may or may not be a total thing, and it may get repeated for different years. Alright. And you had some data down here, title and things, and then classic thing with the amount. And what you want to do is you want to highlight the end of the row, for instance, going that way. So what you do is you do Control G. Put your cursor on the row you want to. And when you do Control G, this cursor will go all the way along to the very, very last item that you have here, even if you can't see it. Just do it in one instant for you. So from here, Control G, and it's gone all the way over there to the December. Now, imagine there was some of the number down here for some reason or other. Maybe even down there. And you wanted to make sure you captured the area all the way over to here, rather than just here. What you do is you start off on the row you're interested in, go down to where you think all the data might be that's and then do Control G again, and this time go all the way over here, finds out the last column of all of these and selects it for you. That's the Control G. Control Shift G does the same thing, except it actually goes to that cell. So Control Shift G go into that cell. That's for the row navigation. For the column navigation, this is one to be a little bit more familiar with. Basically, Control J will go to the bottom of the column, go to the bottom of that column. So we have a column run from right down to a million rows. Then Control J would go down to a million rows for you. And in a similar manner, if we have data here, here, and here, here, and you wanted to select not just the column that went down to the bottom here, but to make sure you were to capture all the area here, you go across a few columns, then do Control J, and it will go down to the bottom one of these. It's particularly useful when you're doing formulas. So for instance, if you had some data here, and more data here, there, and you can't see how far that goes down. You don't know, indeed, it sort of goes down any further than this one. So you have a sum. Nice easy. Go across, build a sum right there. You want to copy that down. If you do Control C, belong to this column, by doing Control J, it will write down nicely to the bottom of that column for you, which of itself is very powerful. And indeed, if there was gaps in this column, it would still Control J and get down to the bottom of the column. But even better than that, you can do Control C, go across all the columns that you're interested in. Say for instance this one. Again, Control J, and go down to the bottom one, so you can copy and paste that down. And what that will save you doing is the classic thing where you grab the formula with the Control C, and then you start copy pasting down, overshoot, undershoot, go back up again. Well, the overshoot, we sort of spend afternoons kind of missing and overshooting and trying to get to the bottom of this data set. Control Shift G, Control Shift J is exactly the same as this, except it goes here. If you Control Shift J, it will just actually take you down to the bottom of that one. Or if I'm here, Control Shift J, it will take me down to the bottom of that one. The areas are then, whereas the Control Shift J, for instance, will just kind of select just this one column here. Control J, not Shift J. Control L, I go across here like this, will highlight the whole range right down to the bottom cell here. So if I'm here, do Control L, it'll work out for all the places and work out what the bottom row of all these columns are. Control Shift L, this one here, isn't one that goes to like the Shift G's and Shift J's. What it does is it's the same thing for a column, but this time it's row-wise. So we have lots of rows of data here. No idea. Happening. You don't know what it is because it's thousands and thousands of columns further along. There. And you want to do a formula with some description that you have sitting here. Then what you do is you highlight it, go down in the columns, and then if you do Control Shift J, you highlight to the left, to the right, and select all the way over to the last thing it found in the columns. Which is G here. that's the area navigations and the row navigations and the column navigations, which are very, very useful in saving hours and hours and hours inside EspressoRec. EspressoRec is installed inside the My Documents or Docs or My Docs folder under another folder subfolder called EspressoRec. When you first install EspressoRec, you go to you enable macros, and then you open this file here, EspressoRec Installer. It's a demonstration file of some of EspressoRec's features, and we're going to have a look at the hotkeys, the keyboard shortcuts. The first and most important one is Control E for EspressoRec. So if we do Control E, then it'll go to the EspressoRec file if it's open, and if it's not open, it'll open it for you. And that's how you access EspressoRec, by Control E. If any of these shortcuts you have already used on some other program or some other add-in, then they probably won't work, and so it's a good idea to change them. But particularly for EspressoRec, it's quite an important one. I have it such that you're using that as Control E as another feature, and it doesn't work, then you just come into this file, the hotkey list file, and you just double click on the E and it'll come up with EspressoRec.